STAKK Nation, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Brazen.
Double O!
Yes, today we're talking about Ponzinomics, scammers, people who decided to go against Bitcoin. But here's the thing, as the whole FTX, what do they call it now, implosion is happening, this is not something that came out of nowhere. It was very clear. As a matter of fact, the man told you himself what they were doing. And it's interesting because even sophisticated investors, as they call themselves, smart money, fell for the same thing. What am I talking about? Multiple months ago, right?
We're back in June.
This was back in June, right? Back in June. Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO, the head honcho, or as they call them now, a gang of the FTX crew, was on Matt Levine's podcast. Matt Levine is an economist of sorts, right? And in that podcast, he described what they were doing, and the description that he gave was essentially a Ponzi scheme, clean and clear. Now, we mentioned this in one of our videos multiple months ago. I tried finding it, but you know, the way we're pumping out these videos is difficult. So I'll find it one day and I'll share it again. At the same time, we also mentioned this on a live show on the Gentlemen of Crypto channel.
Yep.
And it's a curious situation. Why did people not see this coming at the time, right? Given what they were doing and how it was described, why did people keep investing in this? So it is no surprise that we are where we are now. And of course, the question also becomes, what happens from here moving forward? Double O, what are your thoughts on that whole situation? The man described the Ponzi scheme, and I'm going to pull up an article here so we can see some of the lines from his description.
Sales speech. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His sales speech, right? So, for example, I'll give you this one before we get your thoughts on this. He says, so X tokens are given out each day, right? So this is like a random box. And now the box has tokens. All these sophisticated firms are like, huh, that's interesting. If the total amount of the box is 100 million, then it's going to yield $16 million this year in X tokens. So
16%.
they've created this random box. They have given this box a description. They're saying that, hey, this box does X, Y, and Z, which is essentially every crypto coin out there. This is the new coin. It's going to do this. It's going to provide this in Africa, and it's going to do X, Y, and Z. But there is no proof of what is happening. But if you buy this coin, you'll be getting X amount in return. And
Better than inflation.
Huh?
Better than inflation.
Hey, better than inflation, right? But as we can see, it's better than inflation in wrecking your bank account as well.
Inflated your money away.
If you see where we start now. So these sophisticated investors are like, huh, right? So that's 16 million return this year. 16% return. That's pretty good. We'll put a little more in. And maybe that happens until there is 200 million in the box.
100x, baby. 100x.
No economic value, no analysis behind it. It's just there is this box and it has 100 million in it and it's giving back 16% a year. So maybe we'll keep adding until there's 200 million in the box. Now here we are. What are your thoughts?
The first part of my thought is that the biggest whale in the ocean got cut. But the concern is that there's still a lot more whale-like small fishes in the ocean doing exactly the same thing that nobody's talking about yet.
Absolutely. There's still a lot of them out there.
That's number one. Number two, what happened is exactly what some startups or some businesses do or some banks do in the real world. They're just bringing it into crypto.
This is true.
what's her name? Thanos, the lady from the blood
Theranos,
company.
Theranos. I saw
Theranos, yeah.
she's been sent to what, 11 years in prison?
11 point something years in
I
jail.
think
I
they
don't
need
even
to-
think that's enough, given the
That's
amount
not
of lives
enough,
and
bro.
investment that she
They need to
destroyed.
give
It's a
her- they
billion
need
dollar
to-
investment.
Yeah, they need to give her 2 lifetimes in prison plus more. Okay,
Because that's people's life work invested in her and she screwed it up.
exactly. They need
Right.
to, because here's the thing. Think about this, man. The guy who found Silk Road, if you look at it, really, it's all legal activity. What people were doing on the platform may not be legal,
Was legal,
but
yeah.
all he did was set up a website,
Yeah.
right? Yet they've given this man 2 lifetimes in prison. Okay, but someone who is straight up a fraudster, 11 years.
Now that goes back to my second thought about investors. They say investors invest in wave because they find an opportunity. Oh, Johnny is investing in it. Bobby is investing in it. I gotta invest in it too, without doing their true due diligence.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing first is that, oh, this guy went to MIT. His father is this person. He has contact to the White House. X and X and X. Let's get involved in this. That is another big issue that we gotta take a look at as an
Now,
investor.
let me ask you now, because that's actually a good point that you brought up there. Do you think that SBF is actually going to serve some time for this garbage, given the connections he has?
Have you seen what the media is talking about him? They're not even bashing him.
As a matter of fact, actually, it's interesting because
Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post,
Yep.
they're making this guy look fluffy, like he didn't do anything evil.
dude, in fact, man, I have noticed that they've been deleting stuff about him on the internet.
Oh yeah,
There's-
World
there's
Economic
been at
Forum
least
removed him
5
from their website. Yeah,
Dude, multiple websites across the internet have been noticing articles that were written about this man
how great
has
it
been
was.
disappearing.
Yeah,
I go back to click on certain links to reference certain things that we spoke about in the past to bring it back up. I cannot find it anymore. And this has been across multiple websites. So it's interesting to see what is going to happen here. I think there are some people in high places pulling some heavy strings to make this disappear.
this is my biggest concern, and for you crypto investors out there, just think about it this way. In the real world, you start a business, you create a certain amount of shares for that business. That is the net worth of that company based on the value or the innovation of that company or the team around that company, right? And then you release that to the world, and then you give that to investors. In the crypto space, these guys are just coming up with ideas, no solutions yet, but they have this so-called algos that get to just continue to create shares of the company. From what?
Exactly.
From what value is the company providing? And that's what a lot of the altcoins, I would say 90% of the altcoins in the space is doing, which is why you need to be super, super careful. A lot of these altcoins, you're talking about FTX right now, the coin that you're probably investing in right now is doing the same thing FTX is doing. We had an investor come to us, say, hey, I want to create this coin so that people can, pay for parking tickets and blah, blah, blah. But the company that is using the company that is going to use to create the token was only just going to boost the token. It does not necessarily have to create that value of the ability for you to actually pay for those tickets. That is what you don't want in the crypto space. Basically boosting shares or so-called tokens without the value that you're actually creating or the solution that you're providing.
Absolutely. I'm glad we did not engage in that deal with that person.
No, because we did our due diligence. We were trying to educate them about the proper way to do it.
But that's the thing, though. Maybe we're thinking we're trying to educate them, but did they know already? And they're
That's
playing
what they
dumb
want to do.
to just see if they reel you in, man. You never know what people are up to these days. Listen, we're gonna go ahead and close this one out here, but we'll definitely like your thoughts. Sam Bankman-Fried here, okay? Same guy who said Bitcoin has no future in the financial system. We now see it's just a speck in the distance of Bitcoin's rearview mirror. Okay? The fact of the matter is, whatever he was doing clearly was a Ponzi scheme. He described it to everyone as a Ponzi scheme. And we can now see that it was a Ponzi scheme because, as you know, when Ponzi schemes fail, it's a domino effect, right? And there might be more to come. However, Bitcoin is still chugging along, not a bit skipped. So I think it's definitely important, and this is why we do this show, so we can just inform people on what is out there what is really the real thing. What are the problems we're trying to solve? And we know that Bitcoin is solving those problems. Listen, people can come up with anything, but we cannot tell how these things that these people are doing is generating revenue for them to be able to be doing the things that they're doing. It's basic economics, man. It's basic math. So do your research. And nothing we say here, of course, is financial advice. But we're buying Bitcoin to the end.
Can I say one thing real quick? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when you take your crypto or your Bitcoin, right, and you say you want to give it to somebody else to hand yield or lend it to somebody else to give you back some money, yeah, you probably want to do that with your current currencies because you're always thinking of yield because you're trying to fight against inflation. But in the Bitcoin world, it's a little bit different because you're supposed to hold your own value and that value is supposed to gain value over time. But because you're putting it on the exchange and you're allowing these people to manipulate and trade paper, trade derivatives, trade futures on your Bitcoin or whatever other crypto you have up there, you've left it to them, the bankers, to basically control your value, your future. Get it off those exchanges, hold on to it, and let the technologies do exactly what they say they're going to do. That is where you're going to get the value from. Exactly. The whole idea of the blockchain is that you want to hold your own value and avoid the third-party risk. And now you fall into a bigger, it's like from the frying pan into the fire, into the bigger, unregulated space.
You know, I agree with you there. I think step one, they all have to go register as securities.
They are.
And to be governed. So,
regulated.
There we go.
Yep.
I have nothing else, sir.
As always, if you have not liked, subscribe, follow us on this so-called centralized platforms, please go ahead and do that.
Yes.
Twitter doing this thing at STAKK on Facebook. STAKK on YouTube. You find us here all the time. You know, we're still messing around with podcasts once in a while and Instagram.
We're not over. It's gonna come back strong, man. Huge.
Yes, sir.
You know what's actually interesting? I was on a podcast, on a friend's podcast over the weekend. I have to send you the link to it.
Yeah.
It's a podcast about dating and just general social stuff. But
nice.
you know, I had to bring in Bitcoin before I participated in everything else. So and it's actually interesting because it was on the day when I went on a date. We kind of touched on that a little bit in the podcast. It was interesting.
Nice.
But
I gotta see that.
But yeah, our podcast is gonna come back strong. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, brazen out.
Double O.